What's up, guys? This is Corey, also known as QC Rideshare, just hitting you with another one. Just wanted to do a volume one of I'll probably do like a 3 or 4 part series talking about money. So let's go ahead and get into it right away because there's a lot of content I want to get out to you guys about this. So when it comes to the rideshare or gig economy, the biggest issue that drivers have is money, keeping track of it, understanding how much you need to make, and understanding whether the money that you're making doing this gig economy is better or worse than if you just get a 9 to 5. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and go into some numbers. So, when you do the gig economy, you have to start with the understanding of how much money you need to make. And that comes from an understanding of your bills. So the first step that I took in order to do this is I already paid all my bills from months ago, 3 months ago, so forth and so on. So what I would do is I would take your bank statements from your last 3 months, and I know that this is labor intensive, but I would take your bank statements from your last 3 months, go back and figure out how much you've spent over that time period over the last 3 months. That's the best way to kind of get a full understanding of what you spent without you having a level of bias, because when you know you're tracking your income, or when you know you're tracking how much you're spending, sometimes you tend to say, oh, I'm not going to spend money on this, or I'm not going to spend money on this. Nope, let's go ahead and use the last 3 months. So that's step one. So I would say start from October 1st to December 31st. How much money did you spend? Now, granted, there may be things that are one-offs, but there's always going to be one-offs, whether it be gifts or whatever, or some surprise spending, whatever the case may be. Now, for the holidays, you may want to go ahead and pull that amount of money out, because that's not going to be something that occurs every month. But what I would say is take a quarter of that, take 1/4 of that amount, and apply it to how much you spend every as your expense, as your quarterly expense. Or if you take that full amount, say you spent $1,000 and you divide that by 12, gives you a better understanding on how much money you need to make. Now, the next part is understanding what new expenses you're going to incur. So I'll give you an example. If you drive for Uber and Lyft and you are planning to drive significantly, you're going to need to get your oil changed almost monthly, because of the amount of mileage that you're going to be putting on a vehicle. Is that something that you know how to do, or is that something that you're going to need to take to a shop to get done? You're going to need to make sure that your brakes are done. Probably end up getting brakes every year. Now, is that something that you can learn how to do to cut that expense yourself, or is that something that you're going to need to go ahead and manage that expense? Taxes. Taxes are tricky because you have the deduction of your mileage, but you also have the deduction of your mileage and your expenses and some of your expenses, but no one's taking those taxes out. So when you get your settlement from Uber and Lyft each pay period, that's not a good representation of how much money you're actually making. And then you want to also look at incidental expenses. So there's always going to be certain things that come up that you weren't planning for. You need to make sure that you're able to save money. You need to make sure that you're able to put money aside. So the next step to this, and I'm going to be discussing this in part 2, is how to come up with how to come up with a good budget without knowing the exact numbers. So we'll hit that on the next volume 2. Couple things of consequence. I do have a podcast. I try to get some content out every other day. Some of them are rebroadcast YouTube videos that I've already done that I think are important. Check those out. They're at Gig Essentials is if you go to Apple Podcasts or Google Play or whatever podcast catcher, the podcast is called the Gig Essentials Podcast. It's great because if you're on the road and you don't really have the ability to watch a video, you can just throw that in, 5 to 7 minutes worth of content. You're good to go. Also, the website gigessentials.com. Check it out. Obviously, the YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like the post, put in a little notification so whenever I put new content out there, you'll get a notification. I want to try to be more consistent with my content, more on the lines of every other day or every day, whenever I can get stuff out there. But check me out on those in those mediums. Also, there's an app called Anchor FM. If you download the app, my channel is QC rideshare to check me out there. But if you do check out the podcast, please rate, please subscribe. It helps people find the podcast when you rate the podcast. And like I said at the beginning, my podcasting skills are going to get better. Right now, they're not good at all. So we'll get into that more. But until the next one, peace.